Ready?
No.
No?
I just did right.
What do I point for staff, first of all?
You don't have to point it
What
at
do you
anything,
point?
you just click.
You point it at the computer?
You
or-
don't have to point. You can just click.
push it and it will go? Okay.
Okay, alright, stop. Okay. Now, are you happy with the lights this way? Do you want them a little lower, or
You want it a little
like that?
Just a little lower?
Okay, then that would be in your command right behind you.
But you guys can't fall asleep. Now ready? Ready?
Yes, Dr. Kelly, you ready? Okay.
Go.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm Kristen. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Judy.
And today we're presenting to you as parents the importance of teaching your children about stranger danger. I want to share with you a local story. A local story about a young boy. His name was Michael Perry, and in 1985, him and his friend were walking home from baseball practice, and they were both kidnapped by a convicted sex offender who had recently been let out of jail. Michael Perry's friend actually was able to escape, but he did not. Michael was murdered and raped and found later, and now we celebrate his life with a park here in Tucson, and we just want to help and prevent this from happening to your children. Our commitment is to teach age-appropriate techniques to you as parents, so that you can convey that to your children about the importance of staying away from strangers. We find this to be important because every 40 seconds in the U.S. a child is abducted, and it's usually within 1/4 mile of their home. We are currently going to be targeting ages from preschool to 6th grade. So we're defining as a stranger as anyone that your child doesn't know or who the family isn't familiar with. Potential offenders can be a wide variety of people. It can be somebody trying to lure the child in by giving them free candy or offering, help me with my dog, or sometimes they even use other children to lure them in. Sometimes it is a family member or someone who is familiar with the family, so we just want to teach different ways for the children to know what to do in those situations. Currently in Arizona, there's 34 missing children. 16 are girls and 13 are boys that are under the age of 18 that have been missing still within the last 10 years. Once they're kidnapped, they are murdered usually within the first 3 hours of them being abducted, and 65% of those are girls. So age makes a difference in what we should be taught to children about stranger danger. We broke it up into sections. We have preschool, K through 3rd, and 4th through 6th.
So most of the time, if you ask a preschooler what a stranger is, you think they would know, but do they really understand what it is? So a stranger is someone you are not familiar with, someone you do not know. Strangers can be men, women, teenagers, etc. Mention to your child or children if they're not familiar with this person, then they are a stranger. To keep them safe, remind them on a regular basis what is a stranger and how it can be prevented. Emphasize the difference between who is a stranger and who is a safe person. A safe person is someone you are familiar with, someone you do know, such as a family member or close friend. It's important for your child to know the difference because some strangers do not have good intentions. There are effective ways you can teach your child about stranger danger, like role-playing is one of them. Because children in preschool are so young, they cannot retain as much information as older children, so it's important for you to keep your instructions simple. The interaction between you and your child should be limited about what to do and the response if approached. Show visuals such as a picture of a mailman versus a picture of a family member. Make sure they know the difference while you're role-playing. Or even practice acts such as you are the mailman and ask your child, how would you react in this situation, or what would you do, or what would you say? Telling stories is also another effective way you can teach your child. This story of Little Red Riding Hood is a prime example and is a good one to tell. Little Red Riding Hood naively interacts with the wolf, who is a stranger, not knowing that the wolf is not her grandmother. Even though Little Red Riding Hood notices subtle differences about her grandma, she approaches too close and then she is eaten. If Little Red Red Riding Hood knew how to identify a stranger and knew how to defend herself, she might have gotten away. If threatened or approached, make sure your child knows what to do. Make sure they know how to fight, bite, scream, run away, cry for help, and even defend themselves. These methods will hopefully scare the person trying to harm your child and make it more difficult for them. As your child goes from preschool to elementary school, they're able to learn strategies and keep them safe, like memorizing important information, learning code words, and using role play.
As children age, they will be spending more time away from home at school, so it's important that they know basic information in case of an emergency. If they're lost or if they're abducted and are able to escape, then having them know their personal information such as address and phone number will help them contact you faster. Also, having them memorize personal emergency numbers such as 911 and family friends can be useful as well. As a side note, make sure that your child's name is not visible on any articles of clothing or backpacks so that a stranger cannot pretend to know them. And make sure that your child knows that their personal information should not just be handed out to strangers. After-school pickup can also present a challenge if your child is approached by someone who wants to take them home. This problem can be eliminated by developing a code word that only you and your child know. If someone wants to take your child home that they are unfamiliar with, they must know the code word, and then your child can then deem them safe. Other strategies to keep your child safe include making a plan and practicing it with your family. Make plans for various situations, such as what to do if someone comes to the door at your home, or if you get separated at the grocery store. And then make sure to practice it with your child often so that they are sure and know what to do in such situations. Also, continue to stress who a stranger is. This online quiz can help with that. It shows pictures of random people and has your child identify who a stranger is. Again, the idea is a stranger is anyone who your child is not familiar with or you, the parent, have not introduced them to. This is especially important at this age because children think it is okay to help someone even if they aren't familiar with them. What should your child do if approached? Well, when I was 8 years old, my brother and I were at the park and a man came up to us and wanted us to go help him find his dog. We could see our mom in sight, so we thought it was perfectly fine to do so and follow him. But luckily for us, he was part of an undercover police report that was doing a child abduction story for the news, and he meant us no harm. But his point was definitely taken. So just make sure that your children understand that it is not okay to help someone that they're not familiar with and to go get an adult to help assist the stranger. So as your children age, they will be wanting to do things with their peers away from parental supervision. So it's important, in order for your children to be safe from sexual predators, make sure, here's some additional techniques that you should know.
So be sure that your child knows how to identify a stranger no matter what age they are. One technique that you can use is to create a safety web. You start by having them draw a circle and listing inside of that their most trusted people like mom, dad, and siblings. Then have them draw lines out from it and connect those lines, creating a web-like design. In those spaces, they can add extended family members, friends, teachers, clergy. You can continue to create layers and filling in the spaces with other trusted people. Then you can use the outline of a spider and have them put a description on it of someone that they might consider threatening or dangerous. For instance, they could put that there's someone in a van that's watching them, or perhaps someone approaches them that pretends to be a family member and they don't know them. Then they can put those spiders on the spider web. In order to practice role playing, you might ask their teachers to have the kids split up into groups of 3, create their own scenarios, and act them out for their class. Then have their classmates give them feedback on how they responded to their being approached by a stranger. As we mentioned, kids at this age are starting to want to do things with their peers away from adult supervision. So it is very, very important that you stress to them to use the buddy system, that they should never, ever be alone. Also, you want to give them tools such as whistles and cell phones and make sure those tools are readily accessible. Be sure to let them know that it's okay to use that whistle in any situation where they might feel uncomfortable, and make sure they also know exactly how to contact you in case of an emergency. Today, the internet has become a part of our daily lives and the lives of our children. And children are especially vulnerable to online deception and predators. It's easy for an online predator to access personal information, to create false identities, and to lure your children into dangerous situations. One activity you can use to show your children how easy it is to create a false identity is to take a piece of paper and put a picture on one side and a description on the other. For instance, I have 5 brothers and sisters, I'm a published author, and I studied art in college. Then discuss with them if that sounds like somebody who's nice, intelligent, friendly, or does that sound like somebody who's threatening and dangerous? In this case, we were describing Adolf Hitler. Most internet services or internet providers offer safety features for children, and you need to use these to help protect your children from online predators. Every child needs to know how to be safe when they are away from their parent or adult supervision. Remember, you can use age-appropriate activities and techniques, repetition to help them build confidence, make sure they know their code word, their personal information, and to always use the buddy system. And you can use stories and role-playing to teach them what to do in case they are grabbed. And that would be to fight, bite, scream, run away. We hope this presentation helps you to keep your children safe.